Welcome everybody to the European Masters Summer 2020. My name is Excalibur. I'm here with Trouble Inc. and we're going to be kicking off the next 4 days of group stages. Now, we have had a lot of action leading up to this. We've had the play-ins, they've just concluded, and Trouble, I'm going to bring you straight in here. I'm going to bring you straight in. From the play-ins, we had 4 teams qualify. Who do you think, or rather, who have you got your eye on coming in from the play-ins?
Can I be biased?
Yeah, give me biased straight away. And
I'm
I'll
gonna be
biased.
extremely biased, and I'm gonna say Intrepid Fox. These guys are literal brawlers. They come in to fight tooth and nail, and they manage to grab the 2nd spot for the GLL as well.
Okay, unbiased. Give me unbiased.
Oh, unbiased. Okay, I'm gonna go with Pompa, the 3rd seed from the Ultra Liga.
Yeah.
We were asking for a 3rd seed. You know, when Kick went to the finals, we got the 3rd seed, and they are fire.
But what about LDLC? You're not giving me LDLC, the previous reigning champions.
You literally asked me who surprised me. If I told you, if I told you the former champion surprised me going through play-ins, I think it would be a lie.
Sure, I completely get you. But let's have a look at the groups. They're up on your screen right now. Group A, Group B, Group C, and Group D. And honestly, looking at all of these groups, they are pretty stacked. I would say, unarguably, this is going to be the fiercest European Masters in terms of competition that we have ever had. I'm looking at those groups and I'm thinking, I can't pick the group that I want to play in. If I'm looking for an easy ride out of the group, for me, it doesn't feel like there is a particularly easy group to get a ride out of here. There is a lot of talent this time around.
We just have a lot of major regions that have come in with insane talent and insane players, and it's going to be extremely hard for anyone. I feel like, for example, Group D, us coming from the NLC, it's looking kind of tough for Fnatic Rising in there, okay?
So I just want to give context to this, right? Fnatic Rising came in like the 3rd pool for the groups, and you put in Fnatic Rising in as like a 3rd pool seed coming into this, and they're an incredibly strong team, and they're going up against the likes of Mouse, for instance, and that Group D is monstrous, but every group is very good. You know, you've got almost 3 teams from a major region in every single group that we've got going up against today. So honestly, it's going to be incredibly fierce, and like I said, we've got 4 days of group stage action this week. We'll take a quick break after that, and we'll be back to conclude the groups going towards playoffs following that. Let's take a look at the schedule for today. So let's have a look at the matches that we've got coming our way. And you can see on the screen right now, you've got Vodafone Giants versus Misfits Premier to kick things off. Going to be a banger of a game to get started. But Georgia, any other games that you're particularly excited about today?
Oh, okay. I'm getting a little bit biased. I really want to see how Fnatic Rising matches up against LFL. 2 completely different play styles. A team that has not been, you know, they haven't even sweat in the NLC at all. They've done, what, 1 game in the best of 5, and then going up against Gamers Origin, who dominated the LFL. I think it's going to be a banger. Yeah,
well, that's really interesting, and I'm sure we'll get to discuss it a bit more, but obviously we're coming from an NLC perspective where Fnatic Rising were relatively untested pretty much the entire season. I think you look at the likes of Misfits Premier and Gamers Origin, they had to fight tooth and nail to get to the European Masters, where Fnatic Rising basically were a shoo-in from the very get-go, like they always are in their
last hope.
in every national league that Fnatic Rising are in. But obviously that's coming up later on. We've got a lot of good games today, but that first one is where I want to start things off. We have got Vodafone Giants versus Misfits Premier to kick the European Masters off. That is the SLO versus the LFL. The LFL, obviously, the reigning champions, and Misfits Premier coming in as 1st seeds. We're already into champion select straight up. We're not messing about here on the European Masters. We're getting going. And the Kalista ban straight off the dot versus Jezu, who is his 1st European Masters.
You know what the funny thing is about these 2 teams? When I was researching them, I found that in general, in the SLO, the teams have the most teams on blue side. They really like their prioritized picks. They really like, you know, the comfort picks, making someone feel like they're on their good champion, the one that they can, you know, beat everyone with. And then on the other side, you go to the LFL and they feel like composition is what counts for them most, so red side and counter picks are what they're going for.
And I remember you gave me some stats, and it was something like 70% win side, red side for LFL, and it was a similar statistic for Vodafone Giants from the SLO. You know, when you look at SLO, it's quite clear that they prioritize an S-tier first pick that they think is going to define their composition, whereas when you look at the LFL and Misfits Premier, they like that counter pick to round things out, or they like to get a good compositional read. We're getting a lot of pretty standard bans for this patch right here. The Caitlyn coming out, the Kha'Zix and the Karthus being taken off the table right now. Nothing out of the ordinary, realistically, for our first game here.
I wouldn't be surprised to see even a Nidalee get taken out right here. Kirei does like his carry junglers. And no shade towards Lamabear, but he doesn't strike me as the carry jungle. I think you have other targets on the side of Vodafone Giants that will be your carry.
Yeah.
And sort of Lamabear will be there to facilitate them with something like a Sejuani or a tank.
Yeah.
And Kirei will look to smash anyone who's playing a tank against
I'm really glad you mentioned Kirei, because if you've watched European League of Legends, you'll know he's a very, very familiar face. He's been around a long time, all the way back to 2014 Go for Lols. But this is what the European Masters is about. Obviously, most people look at the European Masters and they say it's about the amateur talent. It's about the rookies coming through the system from the ERLs. But it's not just about the rookies. It's about the players that have had their chance to shine, have maybe like fallen off a little bit, and want to get back on the horse. They want to get back and show that they're capable of LEC level play. And so Kirei is a perfect example of that. He's a player that has had that opportunity in the past, didn't quite make it work for him at the time, and is now back again to prove that he is capable. And coming in from the first seed of the defending region, straight up Hecarim, that has been very popular in the LEC playoffs, as you've been seeing so far, and responded immediately by Shen.
See, from what I'm seeing there by the Antonio having the flash and the teleport, I doubt it's going to be played in the top lane. It's most likely going to be a
Lamabear pick, yeah.
A Lamabear pick. And we talked about...
I was going to say, he hasn't locked it in yet. I thought it got locked in. I was about to go crazy.
I mean, I don't mind Kirei going for something like this, but Hecarim can sort of run you down when you're playing the Nidalee, when you play something squishy. If, you know, the spear doesn't hit, you're pretty much screwed. You need to run back into your jungle. But we talked about Misfits favoring more a good composition and counter picks versus the SLO, who are going for the priority. And you saw the priority straight away. Hecarim was open, Hecarim got locked in.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Ashe, obviously a very high priority AD carry on the current patch, that engage. The combination with the Shen is really nice as well. It helps makes up for some of her immobility, especially versus the likes of Hecarim, who's going to have that dive potential. And Orianna, one of the safest blind pick mid laners out there in the game.
Pick.
Yeah, it's a pretty pick. Absolutely, it's a pretty pick. Pretty is kind of known for his control mages. That's kind of his playstyle.
That and his LeBlanc, which is something that is consistently banned against teams over in Spain. They do like their LeBlancs.
So does the LFL. So does the LFL, actually. They're both LeBlanc-like fanatics.
Fanatics?
All right. You caught me there. We'll let that one slide for the moment. Ezreal getting locked in again. If you're looking at top tier AD carries, you know, kind of remaining, the ones that aren't banned, Ezreal and Ashe are kind of up there, right? They're still the S tier picks. Oh, wow, okay. All right.
I like that.
I know you like that because Trouble's got a bit of a thing for assassins. So we're already first game of the EU Masters, and we are going to see what I assume is going to be Ronaldo in the mid lane. Now, for those of you that don't know Ronaldo, he actually played for a little bit on Fnatic Rising as a support player. Even though he was a mid main, he was basically the sub that went over to the support role. He's now back in mid, and obviously on Misfits Premier has had an excellent season getting into that first seed spot. I'm very excited to see a bit of a gauntlet thrown down by Ronaldo here. Maybe be taking a page out of Leader's book in terms of playstyle, and he's going to be taking Pretty on in that laning phase.
And Pretty's more like the guy who's going to chill back, usually with his mages, and he's going to farm. He's not the pop-off sort of mid lane, but he is the one that will facilitate his jungler. So he will look to create pressure in the mid, just so Lamabear will be free to roam around. And on the Hecarim pick, he is going to need it 100% to try and dictate the pace of the game, because you cannot let Kirei run you over. I would like to see something banned against Kirei here, ban something like the Nidalee or the Graves, because you don't want them to have... If you have an assassin in the mid lane, it's really hard to itemize against them. But if you have the opposite sort of damage in the jungle as well as a carry, it's even harder for you as an Orianna.
Well, we've got the Nautilus ban here. Obviously, the Ezreal Yuumi, they don't want to see that, especially alongside the Hecarim. That can be a real nuisance. And the Thresh ban, I believe, just came through at the end there. So, yes, Thresh coming through. That's going to be the ban. And I assume that we see Jungler pick up here, because they obviously are looking for potentially support counter pick, unless that Shen is being flexed into that support role.
It could be, but I don't necessarily see that. I do like the Shen up in the top lane, because you can join from the other side of the map, whilst as support, you're usually playing for something like a solo laner on the other side, and you usually join that way. But Kirei back onto a carry champion. He's going to go for the Kindred. He's played it a lot over in France as well, and it's a pretty good pick versus the Hecarim as well. Hecarim, if he finds you, he one-shots you. But if you put down Lam's Spite, he's going to have a really tough time.
So actually, I'm really interested about this Shen pick, because I think it does have that flexibility, because we know know Agresivoo is a bit more of a carry top lane. Like he has that carry.
Did you watch Huni on Shen?
Yeah, well, obviously, but Agresivoo's got more in his wheelhouse than just the tanks, right? Whereas we know Antonio. Antonio is the tank play. He's the Scion guy. He's the Ornn guy.
Can I defend him a little bit? He had 2 very great Kennen performances.
Sure,
okay?
sure. Okay. The Kennen obviously available. Cho'Gath, he's known for Cho'Gath as well.
I'd be surprised if there's not a tank locked in for the Antonio here. I think they're pushing him to go for that Scion because there's not necessarily much engaged other than the Hecarim with the Orianna ball sort of combination. I don't see anything else.
No, it's the Kennen. So the flank engagers there. You did mention it. He's had 2 particularly good games across the SLO on that Kennen, and he will lock it in. It does make the Misfits top lane a bit of more of a difficult pick, though. If they do want to flex that Shen into support, this is where we're going to get that indication. Whether we see maybe a Camille, for instance, that's a matchup that can go okay into Kennen with a bit of jungle pressure. So we'll have to see where Misfits choose to go with their final pick.
I find that Kennen is one of these picks where you don't easily pin him down, because anything you play against him, he's ranged. He's going to be able to out-damage you and out-trade you. And now playing a melee, aggressive pick in the top lane, that Irelia is going to need a lot of jungle presence up there.
Yeah, you can set things up. I think Irelia, when old Irelia existed, she used to be a pretty good counter into Kennen.
The good old days.
You could, when old Irelia was there, you just queue the minion wave, get onto the Kennen and be a nuisance. It's a little bit harder to execute now with the new Irelia, but it is possible, right? So it is possible with that ultimate. You do have that kill pressure, but it is the flex Shen like we thought would be the case. You know, I would have been surprised on red side to see Misfits give away a potential counter pick in the top lane like that, and I'm very excited because this is not just any Irelia. I'm going to do my
give us your pitch.
My supermarket. It's my supermarket advert. I'm not going to name the supermarket, but my supermarket advert. This is not just any Irelia. This is Agresivoo's. Okay.
I don't even know which supermarket that's
I'm not going to say it on the broadcast, you know. But anyway, it is a very, very, I think a very good pick for him. He's had a lot of good performances on his Irelia. I'm expecting big things. We talked about it a lot when we've seen him at the European Masters before. And I'm excited. This is the first 2 compositions locked in. Now, Trouble. This is why I bring you in to talk a little bit about these compositions. Let's start off. We're already into the game with first game of the European Masters, Vodafone Giants versus Misfits Premier, and it is going to be Misfits Premier over on red side, of course. The respected and selected sides that both of these 2 teams like. And I'm now going to bring Trouble in to talk a little bit about these compositions. Talk to me about the win conditions. It does feel pretty obvious for Vodafone Giants when you're running a Hecarim, a Kennen, and a Orianna, but just illustrate to me what you expect these teams to do for wins.
It's really funny that you say that, because when we have Misfits and we're talking about the late game and how... So in the LFL, the average game time is about 34 minutes and Misfits' average game time is like 36. Yeah. They're going above and beyond. And with this composition that they have drafted right now, I see power spikes at 2 items and even 1 item. You know, Blade of the Ruin King Ashe, you go in. Akali on the Gunblade, you go in. We're looking for early game fights, early game skirmishes. And this is something that the Vodafone Giants here do not wish to do. You know, you're looking for 2 items onto your Ezreal, 2 items onto your Orianna. Same with the Kennen, you want him to have that hourglass.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also seeing Irelia and Akali with double teleport, and I'm thinking if they get ahead, they can really push through a 1-3-1. Like, they've got 1-3-1 potential here for days for Misfits Premier. The only worry that I have for their 1-3-1 is their wave clear sucks. You know, outside of well, anything, all of their wave clear sucks. So that's the problem that I'm going to have for Misfits Premier, because they don't really have a good way of defending against waves if that 1-3-1 doesn't go well. But like you said with Vodafone Giants, that's like a wombo combo. Like, you've got the Hecarim, the Orianna, like, you just stick that together with a Kennen, especially with the Bard. It's pure team fight potential. But I do note that there is a double teleport here for Vodafone Giants. If they're looking to try and... I think they realized that the 1-3-1 was on the cards for Misfits Premier, given the composition. And so they do have the summoner spells to try and contest that.
They make you think it's a 1-3-1, but there's a Shen in the composition.
True,
as well.
True, yes.
It is never going to be a clear one-on-one on the side lane. This is why we mentioned at the start, when the Shen is picked in the top lane, you're looking to play towards your bot side, or you're looking to play through a split push and maybe in your mid lane something like a Twisted Fate. But then when you're looking at a Shen in the bot lane, you're like, okay, they're looking to play through their side lanes. They want to snowball both the Akali and the Irelia to play that 1-3-1 composition you just mentioned, and do things go south, the Shen goes in to save and make it a 1v2 or a 2v2.
Yeah, Shen's ultimate very useful, especially a bit like a mini Karthus. You know, Karthus always makes it that you're never truly in a one-on-one in the side lanes. Shen can do a similar thing post-6, of course. While we've got the sort of the chill time in the start of the early game here, I kind of want to take time to reflect a little bit more on the respective histories of these regions. You know, LFL come in as a region that has constantly been hyped, but up until the previous European Masters, never really delivered fully. Obviously, Misfits Premier had a really good win with Obsess and Leader back in the day, but you know, I remember the story for LDLC previous to Spring was LDLC are the best team in the tournament. LDLC are the best team in the tournament.
And they won.
And they won eventually, but it did take them quite a few European Masters to get there. And you look at the SLO, outside of the first year, SLO have never found glory. You know, they had that first year where they had the 2 wins with Origin and then Mad Lions, but then they just never were able to get back on the horse. They were constant top 4s, they were constant top 3s, like you mentioned, but never able to get fully back on the horse. So this is a really interesting matchup because it's SLO looking to reclaim that status as the best region in Europe, and LFL are the best region in Europe by all metrics.
I like that you mentioned the fact that both the LFL and the SLO are champions because they both have 2 championships under their belts. They're looking for pure dominance here. If either the LFL or the SLO get another championship, they're the clear favorites all around EU Masters.
Yeah.
And right here, I feel like for Giants, it's sort of like a pride game as well. In the summer split, in the spring split, they didn't even manage to get out of groups. They played through the tiebreaker, they lost the tiebreaker, and they couldn't get out of groups. While Misfits here also have weight on their shoulders. You know, LDLC rocked the previous EU Masters, and now they're coming in as the champions. LDLC's 3rd seed, not even 2nd.
I know.
And they're coming in as the reigning champions from the LFL. They have to back this up.
That raises a really interesting discussion, though. And I'm gonna pose this question to you, Trouble, okay? If Misfits came in...
I know why you're talking to me. It's because I told you they have an average game time of 36 minutes.
But if Misfits come in as the 1st seed from the LFL, they beat out LDLC, who were our previous European Masters champions. Just how strong is the LFL? If they rocked the previous European Master champions, who have pretty much the same roster barring their AD carry, just how strong do we think the LFL are coming into this European Masters?
I feel like if you don't match against teams with a different play style, a different region, a different idea behind the game, you will never necessarily know how strong your region is. Even if we take it back to us and the NLC, Fnatic went unfazed, they didn't sweat, they won through the entire thing. Where are all the other NLC teams? Riddle didn't manage to make it, you know. Fnatic is the only one there, and they are in a very fire group as well. So, sure, Misfits might be the greatest in the LFL, but matching up against other regions, this is where they're going to show if they're the real deal or not.
Going to see the first Infernal Drake being taken here by Kirei, who obviously we've highlighted as a player that's had some veterancy in terms of his European performances over the years. He's going back all the way to the 2014 Go for Lols, and he's looking to try and get back into that top flight of European play. But I actually just want to circle back to what you mentioned in terms of it's very difficult to assess, because I think that really is just the, although I'm going to hold it there right now because Kirei's going for an immediate gank onto Pretty forced to burn Flash, lots of damage coming down, and already that's going to put Orianna in an awkward position for the next few minutes of this game.
So what he was trying to do there was pretty much crush the wave so he could go back and allow the Akali, you know, to farm on her own and basically try to get a cheater recall. But Pretty didn't account for Kirei coming from behind him, and he managed to get his flash. That means that the Orianna will not be able to continuously push over the Akali. She does have the advantage with the auto attacks and of course the ball being a ranged champion over the Akali, and they tried to make Ronaldo suffer. It didn't work. Now they're diving top.
Agresivoo gets the stun onto the Antonio, who burns. The ultimate is forced to flash across the wall here. It was a debilitating. Oh, Ronaldo goes in. He's looking for it. First Blood dives in with the second round of the ultimate. And he continues to put the pressure down onto Pretty. And they just burnt the flash of Pretty. In the meantime, whatever the hell was going down on bot lane, I have no idea. But Erdote goes down, and Misfits Premier, they come out swinging.
We literally mentioned how important it was for the Misfits composition right here to snowball extremely early, reach their first items. Here is what we're seeing in the bot lane as well. So they do get the root onto the Shen, and instantly they think they can trade, but that was a beautiful taunt right there. And Erdote tries to run away while Attila is sending back some of the pain, but you just can't trade with Ashe early on. She has one of the best trades in the game. The damage that she's able to output with the fully stacked Q is insane, and Attila and Erdote were on the receiving end of that trade.
I think Erdote stepped up and he thought that he was going to get the stun, and I think he just messed it up, and unfortunately...
He did get the stun.
Oh, yeah, so but he just stepped up too far, right?
He stepped up too far?
Yeah, he stepped up too far. If he just walked to turret, he probably would have survived, but then I guess maybe Attila would have died, so...
Ooh. Look at that now. So what Pretty's trying to do here is he's trying to freeze the lane onto his side because he doesn't have his flash available, and you are denying a lot of farm from Ronaldo, who doesn't have summoners or ultimate to get out of a sticky situation. This is why Giants brought 3 people in the mid lane to try and punish if Ronaldo stepped forward to try and go for that.
Yeah, I think Ronaldo would have been a bit silly because the wave was kind of pushing towards him anyway. I think he was trying to hold it to try and bait him into some kind of engage, but he just wasn't able to do that. Now Targamas, who does have flash available, going to get focused down by Lamabear here, but he will move away. I mean, Lamabear did have ultimate, but I think they've been tracking the fact that both exhaust and flashes up the Targamas. It would have been a bit of a waste to blow it on the support already.
So do you fancy talking a little bit about the pony?
Yeah, do you know what? Please talk to me about the pony, because it's something that is just recently cropped up in professional play, and I'm not entirely sure like where it's come from. So talk to me a little bit about the pony.
So the thing with Hecarim is, I feel like he's a 50-50 jungler. When a jungler doesn't necessarily have an instant success, I call them a 50-50 jungler. It's like kind of like the Evelyn. If it doesn't go well in the early game, you will forever be chasing something you can't do. With the Hecarim here and so many immobile targets with the likes of the Kindred and the Ashe, you're going to be able to sort of one-shot them if you're even ahead from the Kindred. And now that you see that he has a very early Shen, he went straight to that instead of his jungle item. He is looking to assassinate from early on, and you saw that he found even Targamas in the bot side jungle, and he chucked him really hard that early on. But moving back to the action, Misfits have put the pedal to the metal. They're taking everything early game. This is what they need to do. Get to that first item power spike and then keep stacking the dragons, forcing Giants to fight.
Yeah, I mean, they picked up the Rift Herald. We're actually seeing Giants lane swap here. Now, it's a pretty late lane swap. They obviously have missed out on that. Here comes the arrow from downtown. Pretty does sidestep, though. That was a
sleek sidestep.
That was a sleek sidestep. I absolutely...
It's like, I was going that way anyway.
It did look like it was... I'm going to be honest, it was a well-placed Ashe arrow, but it was a nice sidestep completely as well. But that lane swap to me seems a bit odd. There's nothing that they're going to get on the top side of the map here. They've already lost Rift Herald.
It's a little bit too late to the party, but ultimately, whoever is going to lose from that is the melee, is the Irelia. If the Irelia is on a 2v1, she's going to be punished underneath the tower, whilst the Kennen will have more of a better and easier time because he's ranged and he can farm from a distance. Oh.
Lamabear is actually just crossing that. They're actually already swapping back. That whole swap boggled my mind a little bit.
It's cost them so much experience and CS right there, because it feels like Giants are constantly trying to chase. They're looking to find action, but the composition doesn't necessarily find action that early into the game.
It's so crazy because they swapped and they knew it was only about a minute and a
I don't think it was even a minute.
They don't even know if it was a minute till Dragon. So it was like the most random swap I've ever seen. Anyway, it doesn't matter because the pressure is there for the bot lane for Misfits Premier. They are setting up for that second Dragon. Now, we're either going to have a Cloud Soul or a Mountain Soul. So two of what people would consider the least impactful dragons in the game. Although, what I would say is actually Cloud Soul's not bad for Misfits.
I like Cloud Soul. When you have Ashe Arrow and Irelia ultimate, Shen ultimate, when they're charging that much faster, this is how many more plays you can make on them. So I really like that they're stacking the dragons. It is going to be a Cloud Drake. Very important. I like it much more than a Mountain on Misfits, who are looking to snowball here, and they're actually 2,500 gold ahead 11 minutes in. We're talking about snowball composition, and now we're going to be having the first resets coming in soon. Irelia is going back to base. She should have her Blade of the Ruin completed.
Yeah, and actually she's gone for that, I think, for pure dueling potential and the ability to chase down the Kennen. Yeah, he's looking for the 1v1 in that particular, because if he'd gone Triforce, it's great, but it gives you more sustain versus the Kennen. It allows you to chase him down with the active as well, which is always nice. And actually, I'm going to bring this back to expectations. You know, when we were talking about Misfits in the LFL, 36-minute game time, down at 15 minutes.
I don't see it here.
Exactly.
I'm looking for 25 minutes game time.
Like 15 minutes, they are always down in gold. You know, that they're average down in gold by about 1,900. This is not the Misfits that we are used to from the LFL. This is why it's always weird to talk about how teams match up, because everything seems to change when we get to European Masters. Teams tend to go for slightly different play styles. They tend to play up to their competition, and Misfits right now are really doing well.
I feel like EU Masters is a really good showing for new and old players to make it back into the scene, for obviously new players to make a name for themselves. And, you know, the LEC is watching. We're kind of like the academy here of the LEC. They're looking for new players. So if you're going to get a rookie, you're going to be looking at EU Masters. And obviously all these players want to step up. They want to put the extra mile in to show up. in this competition. And I just want to go back a little bit to Misfits actually being fire in this early game. We're not used to that sort of playstyle from them with a 36-minute average game time. And what's happening right here is because you will see that because Misfits are spiking on this first item, when they're back with it completed, they will force the next dragon. What that means is that they lose a lot of pressure on the map and a lot of vision, which doesn't allow Lamabear to farm. He has fallen behind. He's nowhere near his Trinity Force.
I mean, looking at just the side lane matchups, one of the things that you always like to be aware of when you're going into a 1-3-1 is like, are my side lanes going to do well? Like, are my side lanes...
Oh, come on!
You've got to do them dirty like that. Going to be Agresivoo going a little bit aggressive in the top lane versus Antonio, who's forced to pop his ultimate defensively. But honestly, Agresivoo is 30 CS up on the Antonio in a range discrepancy matchup as well. And you said as well that Agresivoo gets chunked out just a little bit, but they aren't going to go for it again. Action has been a few and far between in this game so far. And there was already a swap coming up towards this top side of the map, I imagine, because they are prepping for that second Rift Herald, which will be spawning moderate.
The first one didn't necessarily do much.
They just got, nothing. They used the Bard ultimate there. You can see Erdote now going to go aggressive onto Kirei, but again, I mean, Giants
they're trying to starve them. They know that they're better. They have the Gunblade completed, double blade the Ruin King. They can fight. Yeah, they did. Kirei stole the blue buff. They are starving these Hecarim. The slower the Hecarim is, then he will never be relevant in a game. The carries will not be scared if they're higher level than the jungler.
Well, if we take stock of where we are in terms of CS, in terms of gold and items, just having a look at the bot lane here, it looks like there is was a flash taunt coming out from the Ezreal who sidesteps the arrow as well. You can just see the bottom side of the map. Not too much happening there, but in terms of item spikes and gold.
Actually, you said not much happened. He lost his cleanse.
Oh, he lost cleanse.
Next fight, Targamas has flash taunt, so Attila needs to play extremely careful.
And that next fight probably going to be in about a minute 15. They have got the Rift Herald started up here. And
she's not up yet. She's coming a bit late.
Yeah, not yet. They're going to go for a potential top lane dive onto the Antonio, who has got the flash available, knows it's coming because of that ward that they've got in the jungle. I can actually now eventually start to talk a little bit about the items and where we are right now. Just talk to me a little bit about these item spikes that are coming through here. We've got the Hextech Gunblade for the Akali, that Blade for the Ruin King for the Irelia. I would talk about it, but it just looks like we have action all over the place.
Okay, so that might have looked weird that Jezu actually flashed there, but he had absolutely no clue who was hiding in Fog of War if that bind hit him from the Bard. So this is very important as extremely immobile, but again, if you look over, there's just a couple of components completed and everyone's gone into a brawl.
Ronaldo now, there's a flash coming through, he's surely dead as well. They are going to take 2 kills in the bot lane. Agresivoo picks up 1, Ronaldo the other, and the solo lane is the 1-3-1 kind of driving force is fully into gear here for Misfits Premier.
We mentioned the cleanse wasn't up. They instantly engaged onto Attila. They didn't have to actually burn anything for that. And they come out ahead, grabbing a bunch of plates onto their Irelia down the bot lane. That she's most likely going to grab the first tower as well. That will give them a free Rift Herald. And they have a free way down to that third dragon. That will put them in soul point.
Yeah, actually, Irelia, believe it or not, you may have missed it because it was so quick, took the first tower in the top lane earlier. It's the second tower for Misfits Premier.
You're
I know.
So right.
No, but it literally slipped us by because it has just been...
There's just too much happening.
It's been too much happening. And
this is not a Misfits game.
Well, I know exactly, and it's been very dominant from Misfits as well. That third dragon is going to get started up now. Kirei is on the top side of the map. I wonder if Vodafone Giants are even in a position to group and try and do something about this. They have looked lost, honestly.
They can't. You've got a mana mune still stacking up with a Shen. You're going into a gauntlet, so you're not going to have as much power onto your Ezreal. Giants might look to have a fight here because they have the gauntlet, the gunblade completely onto Kennen.
They are going to get the taunt to Kirei here. That's going to be a nice shockwave as well to defend. They'll pick up the kill and they'll secure the third dragon. That was good from Vodafone Giants, and they needed to do something because that would have put Misfits on soul point.
That is huge, because you saw for that fight down there where they picked off Attila and Erdote, Misfits had to burn so many of their ultimates that they actually didn't have the cooldowns up and available to fight again. Vodafone Giants pulled the trigger. They had the Gunblade onto the Kennen, which was going to output a bunch of damage and chase potential onto that dragon, and they buy themselves a very important 5 minutes.
Yeah, and they may also now be able to capitalize with some map pressure by sort of forcing down these turrets. You can see the 1-3-1 is now in effect for Misfits Premier. We have Akali on the top lane, Agresivoo heading down towards the bottom side of the map here. So they are looking to exert that split push pressure. It is going to be on the Antonio having to deal with Agresivoo, who's going to forego the Triforce completely. Looks like he's actually heading towards the Wit's End here, which is obviously a pretty decent item pickup alongside the Mercury Treads into the Antonio if you're going for some more of these elongated trades.
It's more than decent here because whoever you face, whether it's the Orianna or the Kennen, they both deal 80 damage. So having these resistance is going to be extremely important to actually even dive someone like an Orianna and try to take the 1v1. You also have the backup of the Shen if something goes wrong. So they are going for that 1-3-1. They have a very solid 3-man mid as well with Kirei onto the Kindred. If something goes wrong, you pop Lamb's Respite and then you wait for the teleports to rain in and assist you. I'm really liking what Misfits are doing into this game. They have not slowed down at all. They're taking very calculated moves, and sure, they might have lost the dragon, but they still have the upper hand. It takes a while for that Vodafone Giants composition to get there.
So we are 18 minutes into the game. Remember when we talked about Misfits, their average gold at 15 was 2k down? Yeah. We're 18 minutes and they're about 4k up. So this is very, very different from what we're used to seeing from Misfits, but it looks like Vodafone Giants may have caught them unaware. They're looking for a mid lane push right now, because it's a 1-3-1, they don't have that potential to group. Remember, I talked about the wave clear being a little lackluster from Misfits? Vodafone Giants know it. They are not scared to push up and force this turret.
Yeah, and Jezu can't even step up to the tower because if he does, he's going to get instantly punished like Targamas here.
Ooh, Zoni ultimate coming up to the bar. Here comes... Oh, he flashes back in, but it's not good enough. There's the shockwave. Immediately, Lamb's Respite comes down to save Kirei as Agresivoo's looking on the front line, looking to do some damage here. But immediately, the teamfight prowess of Vodafone Giants is kind of pulling Misfits apart as they use that Bard Magical Journey just to maybe cut off some escape routes. It is a 1-for-0 in terms of Misfits Premier coming out on top, but it didn't feel like they were in control of that fight whatsoever.
I feel like the Antonio burning his flash there was pretty huge. Because if you're gonna go down, it's fine. Misfits have nothing to take on the map right now, so if the Antonio goes down, it's fine. You've got a bunch of wave clear. Misfits are not going to take anything off of the map for you, and you just sacrifice again. And but burning the flash is very important for the next fight. He will not have it to run straight into the heart, basically, of Misfits, and it's going to cost him this game. You see how Jezu sidesteps the Bard ultimate and instantly throws it in. He could have sidestepped with the flash, but he used it to go back in and re-engage. I don't think the rest of Giants were on the same spot.
I don't know if you were watching the LEC playoffs, and I believe it was just the Fnatic series that just went by, and I can't remember which player it was.
I've completely deleted that off of my head because everyone was like, rogue, so I feel like it never happened.
So I'm pretty sure it was Vander. I think he flashed the Ashe arrow. I think he flashed over the Ashe arrow. Like, the Ashe arrow came towards him and he flashed over it, right? I actually think...
Even if that was the case, I don't think Giants were on the same page
I agree with you. I agree with you, but I get the impression that the Antonio was like, I'm just going to flash over the Ashe arrow. Like, that was kind of what I felt like he was going for.
All right.
Oh, man.
The Shy, the Antonio.
Exactly. They've both got the so it's...
the.
All right, we've got the fourth dragon of the game coming through here. Actually, Kirei forced to flash away. In goes Lamabear, putting pressure onto him. Lamb's Respite not yet available, so Kirei has to be so careful with how he approaches this. And you can see that actually a lot of pressure coming down. Ronaldo has that Shen ultimate coming through. He's going to get the taunt onto his will. That is Targamas taking down the Antonio, and in comes the Lamb's Respite, which has come off cooldown. Beautiful timing as Agresivoo runs in, and now Misfits start to run Giants down. Double kill for Agresivoo. Surely a dragon, but maybe even a Baron.
Kirei, you absolute beast! Gets in the last second possible. They're gonna push the mid wave right there. I'm loving this because Lamabear had not timed Kirei's ultimate. He could have killed him. He could have solo killed him, and he lets him go. He sees where everyone else is from the side of Misfits, and he doesn't pull the trigger. That would have been an easy dragon for them that was spawning. The Antonio gets caught again. That's Ronaldo this time, and the execution that was gonna come in, but Kirei dives in like the Superman, saves his entire team. No, I believe they're on Baron as well. Yeah,
I think we were just seeing Baron going down, and now the Dragon will be taken by Giants. They're delaying Soul, but it is just Cloud Soul. It's not like they're having to delay an Infernal Soul or an Ocean Soul. You know, like Cloud Soul.
Honestly, I don't think Misfits care too much about Soul
I don't
when they
think
have
they
a
do either.
1-3-1 composition and
With
they can
Baron,
be pushing like 3 lanes at once with Baron up minions. It's going to be extremely difficult for Vodafone Giants to defend all of them. You see they're all stacked at that 1.5 item, and then if you look on the other side of Misfits, Agresivoo is almost on his 3rd. It's going to be a death stance.
Do you remember I told you? It's not just any Irelia. It's Agresivoo's Irelia.
Don't get me wrong, but I saw Huni on Shen. Damn, he was doing more damage than any other carry in this team.
Shen is
He's broken.
He's
He's
deceptive,
very
dude.
broken.
He's deceptive.
It's kind of like Ornn. You think it's a tank, but in the end it's an assassin.
It's not a tank. Leandri's completed as well for Ronaldo now, so those elongated fights just going to be a little bit better for him. The Black Cleaver there for Kirei. We have the Runans with the Blade of the Rune King Spike coming out for Jezu on this Ashe. It is a healthy-looking Misfits Premier team right now, who are 7,000 or 6,500 gold in the lead at this point in time. And, you know, we're just not used to seeing this from their LFL performances. They are generally down at 15. They generally take the games longer, but they are in a commanding spot versus the SLO.
I think we were lied to when they told us 36 minutes average game time, when they told us 2,000 gold down in their games. We're like, yeah, maybe versus the LFL. But here, we told about they're coming in as the returning champions of a region, but now they have the crown on their head coming in from the LFL, and they need to prove they're even better than LDLC. Boy, are they having a performance in their first game.
I mean, if you want to come out swinging as the defending champion,
That's it.
this is the kind of game that you want. And not only that, you ask a lot of players, 1-3-1 compositions are usually some of the hardest.
hard.
They're some of the hardest to execute on. So if you come out swinging with a 1-3-1, not only do you send a message, you know, to the rest of the European Masters, but you are in such a good spot in terms of power level. You know, we talk about these first few games in group stages where we're getting a barometer for the level of play in the European Masters. And this is a very high bar being set by Misfits Premier.
So here's the thing. You know how a lot of teams were trying to encrypt how G2 was playing? Like, how does G2 snowball? How do they get in 20 minutes and 10k gold lead? I think with the 1-3-1 teams, with the teams that snowball very, very early, they take that small advantage, but they never manage to snowball. We saw it over in us in the NLC as well, but Kirei's going to sidestep that.
Yeah, he's going to have to pop the Lambda Spike. They're going for a 3v3 right now. Targamas are trying to defend. They're going to pop that ultimate, but we will get nothing more out of it. Vodafone Giants
It's fine. Agresivoo's doing work in the top side.
Exactly. Like, they are not bothered about losing out on these small engages, although you can see Erdote now coming through to try and put pressure onto Agresivoo. The stun will land, and here comes Attila. They're going to go straight in here. The Shen making his way through. Agresivoo goes down very low. They're going to take the first kill, but now Targamas might be on the plate for the Vodafone Giants. Not enough, though, as Ronaldo will back him up. It's a 1-for-1 at the end of the day, and they lose mid lane tier 2.
I was about to say, if Irelia gets caught here, it's really bad. They don't have pressure anywhere else. But the second that they saw Agresivoo was in trouble, they bought time with the Shen ultimate. They take tower mid. They're going to put pressure on the bot tower. They are everywhere, all over the map. One play happens from Giants, 3 from Misfits.
Let's take a look at that again here, Trouble. Just walk us through.
Here is the spine time here. Of course, he steps a little bit too far, but he sidesteps the bad ultimate, and he buys so much time for Agresivoo in the top lane. He gets out very healthy, and then we're like, okay, we saved mid tower. Which one is in trouble now for Giants? They're like, oh, guys, top side. Let's go chase the Irelia, because Agresivoo is all alone here. But what they didn't account for was Shen ultimate coming in and buying a lot of time. Erdote is extremely squishy on the bot, especially without his ultimate. Ends up paying for it. The second this starts happening, mid lane push, bot lane push.
And that's classic split push theory. You cross map every time. You commit resources to one, you cross map to the other. And obviously picking up a tier 2 is another little gold boost here. 9,000, 8,500 in the lead right now for Misfits Premier. Ooh. And you know, I think SLO coming with a bit of a chip in their shoulder. They have been constantly, ever since we've kind of seen an evolution in Europe, because I want to tell you a little bit of a history lesson, right? Back in the first European Masters...
Is that Boomerang Scoundrel coming in?
Boomerang Scoundrel is here to tell you a bit of a history lesson. Back when the European Masters was first brought in, the SLO was one of the most developed leagues. Not a lot of other national leagues that kind of hit the level of development that the SLO had, and that usually attracted the best talent. The SLO had the
How many LEC players?
Exactly. A lot of LEC players came from the SLO. We'll talk about it in just a moment, though. It looks like a little bit of an engage coming through. That's another nice taunt by Targamas straight on to Lamabear, who gets taken out. Ronaldo's there on the flank. Ronaldo's 2v1, and he's going in. Will find the ult and gets the double kill onto Renekton. And now the Antonio forced to use that Zhonya's. He'll go down immediately afterwards. Misfits Premier, the shockwave will only do very little to stop this going on. They're going to continue their fight, pushing down the mid. Pretty will have to be forced to back through those gates, and Misfits Premier should now be able to secure that third dragon.
This is absolutely no damage. Look at the level difference. That Akali is level 16, the Irelia is level 16. They cannot touch them at this point. You said Ronaldo was 1v2. No, he was minding his own business, and then he sees Erdote trying to run away with his journey, and Ronaldo was like, fine, I'll take it, I guess.
They should be able to set up a Baron nicely here as well. I'm gonna after this replay, let's take a look at that again here, Georgia. Let's walk us through this replay.
Okay, so I don't know what Lamabear was trying to do there. I don't know if he was trying to find an engage or something, but he burns his E and he burns his ultimate trying to run back, and Erdote's like, guys, take this journey. Well, that was the wrong journey. Ronaldo didn't even see them. He's like, I'm just gonna flank. He's like, okay, never mind, guys. They just run into me. All good. We won this fight. And from there on out, it was just Misfits literally slapping Giants with their items.
Yeah, Misfits need that wombo combo. They need that Kennen flank. They need to get the pony into the shockwave. Like, they require that setup to really...
So hard, though. If Hecarim falls behind like here, it's just so hard to get the assassination going. Yeah. You saw Lamabear when he had to ult out, and then he still gets caught.
Yeah, absolutely. They're basically... Their wombo combo just doesn't work at this point in time. It's just not functioning, and that is allowing...
I don't know what a level 12 Hecarim can do to a level 15 Ashe.
Yeah, wow, that is a discrepancy right there.
And 10k gold.
I know, bloody hell. But yeah, you know, we were talking about the SLO. That back in like 2017, 2018, they were the developed region. They were the most lucrative ERL to be a part of.
Give me names, scoundrel.
Give me names. All the people like Hatrix was back then, I think, in the SLO. I think Crown Shot was there. Nemesis, Selfmade. Like a lot of these players, like you said.
Kazi.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of these players came from.
I love
the
how
SLO
I asked
originally.
you to give me names, and then
I think what you really should have said is, "I'll give you names."
I'll give you.
But then over the years, the likes of the Prime League, you know, the Dark Region, the likes of the LFL, even to an extent the NLC, they have started to become more and more competitive. And the Ultra League, of course, who have become an absolute whirlwind force over the last year and a half. These leagues became more lucrative and more attractive to players, and now that talent is spread out across Europe. And that's, you know, the SLO, they haven't been the strongest region in Europe for quite some time, and they really want to
Lamabear's in it to win it.
Absolutely, that's going to be engage coming through. We'll see. Are Giants going to contest this Baron? It's already gone down now. They're a little bit too late to the party. The Ashe arrow follows up immediately straight onto the Hecarim. He's down on the left-hand side of the fight. Antonio's buying time here, but he will not be able to do much as Agresivoo jumps in. Oh. And Ronaldo finds a huge amount of damage onto the front line, and Ashe will do what she does best. Chases down the Giants roster. Nothing they can do. Misfits Premier in the driving seat.
You know you're so screwed when the Ashe is chasing Hecarim and not the other way around. I think Misfits literally caught fire from the first second they got into this rift. They put their foot down on the pedal, gas all the way. They haven't stopped at all. They created a large goal difference from the start. They spiked on these first items and they never let go. And well, I guess Targamas needs to get some of the shine here as well, right?
Absolutely. He had actually Targamas 1-0-13. He was involved in nearly 90% of all the kills. But the first win of the European Masters group stage will go to Misfits Premier from the LFL. And they are certainly looking like a defending region. Honestly, it did not even look close from the get-go.
It looked too easy, actually. I was expecting the 36 minutes. I'm like, where is it? From minute 10. I think it was pretty obvious who was going to win.
Absolutely. Now we're going to go to a break. When we're back, we will be gearing up for We Love Gaming versus Pompa. We'll see you soon. Hey everyone, and welcome to the EU Masters, where we pit the very best ERL teams against one another while showcasing up-and-coming European talent. 12 regions will compete to decide who will reign supreme over Europe, so be the first to scout and the first to cheer. Let's get right into it. EU Masters begins with the play-in group stage, where all regions will have at least one team represented, with a total of 16 teams divided into 4 groups. Here, each team will play against other teams in their group twice, with the top 2 seeds moving on to the play-in knockout stage. The winners here will move on to the group stage, where 12 teams have already pre-qualified. This group stage is where the teams will compete in a double round robin, with the top 2 teams advancing to the knockout stage. From September 15th to 16th, like before, top seeds will play against the second-seeded teams from other groups in a best-of-3, with winners moving on to the semi-finals. Here, the final 4 teams will play a best-of-3 and fight for their spot in the finals, where it'll be a best-of-5 to determine the next EU Masters champion. Each season, fresh talent explodes onto the Rift. The likes of Nemesis, Kazi, Selfmade, and Humanoid all rose up through the EU Masters. But who will be this year's champion? Who will be the next breakout player to make it into the LEC? Join the ride, tag along, and witness history in the making. Bye for now.
Crap, I got a squad on my right.
Running in for backup.
Yo, Ron, he's right there in front of you.
Sorry guys, it happened again.
Damn, that's one today.
All right, I'm back.
Someone cover me.
You got him, you got him. Yo, that's sweet.
Yeah, it is. We about to win this.
I can get used to this.
HyperX Alloy. Built strong because it has to be.